Hey everyone, Captain Sean here, with an announcement that I know nobody is happy to hear. According to series producer Michael Jacobs, Girl Meets World will not be continuing on any network or video service in the foreseeable future. This is obviously upsetting news for those that have enjoyed the program and supported the show, since many fans like myself know there were definitely more stories to be told in this great series. So today, for the final Girl Meets World video that I may ever get to make, I'll be doing something very different than what I usually do. Today, I'll be analyzing and speculating on what might have happened had Girl Meets World had a fourth season. For this very special video, we'll be taking the very few things series creator Michael Jacobs confirmed would have happened in a fourth season and expand and speculate on more specific stories that would have happened in that plan. Now, this is just one fan speculating, but considering I did in-depth reviews for every episode of this series, really analyzed every character in the show, and am an experienced writer of children's stories myself, I feel like I have a bit of credibility in making good speculations on what might have happened had the show continued. And so, here it is. For all the fans that want some kind of in-depth idea on what might have happened next, this is my special video, Girl Meets World Season 4, What Might Have Been. Now, by the end of Girl Meets World Season 3, it became very apparent that amongst the young characters, Riley and Maya's friendship was the strongest of them all. There was doubt on whether Riley and Lucas would become a couple forever, and even a little doubt on if everyone would remain friends into adulthood. But there was no doubt about the strong friendship Riley and Maya had. Now, according to Michael Jacobs, Season 4 would have shown that what drew Farkle, Lucas, and Zay to Riley and Maya was the deep friendship and respect they had for each other, and their relationship was the guide in how to meet the world, because to find love, friendship and respect must be at the center of it. But what type of specific stories could have occurred that tied into those themes? Well, first off, we have to look at the unfinished plot thread of Maya's relationship with her birth father, Kermit. Now, we still don't know everything about what Kermit had been doing for the last 10 years, but we did know he had another family, so it might be safe to assume that Kermit had another child with someone, meaning Maya has a half-sibling, presumably a half-sister, since it would obviously create more drama if Maya meets someone that looks a lot like a young her. Now, as soon as Maya finds out about this, it causes her to have some conflicted feelings. She had finally felt a sense of completion in her life with having Sean as her stepfather now. Thus, Maya learning of her half-sister throws her life completely out of balance again. So upon meeting her half-sister, Maya obviously has some issues getting along with her. But after looking at how the Matthews siblings get along with thinking about how she and Riley, who are kind of like sisters themselves, get along, it causes Maya to approach her half-sister in a more respectful and kind way. And this much more respectful and kinder Maya creates a metaphoric light that doesn't just bring her sister closer to her, but her birth father Kermit as well. And even though the two still don't get along perfectly, Maya's desire to show respect and kindness to her sister allows her to finally show that to Kermit as well, resulting in Maya, finally, after so many years, being able to show forgiveness to her father. Now, there was a rumor that if the show continued, we would have eventually seen the characters deal with some sort of life-altering tragedy. The most probable would have been a character, probably Smackle, experiencing some type of serious accident that damages her legs and causes her to now be confined to moving around in a wheelchair. This would create more drama since Smackle, who already has one type of disability, now has an even more noticeable disability. However, she would continue to grow strong inside as a person, and her ability to move forward would only cause Farkle to admire her and respect her much more. However, the tragedy of a friend getting hurt would cause the other young teens to also reevaluate and change the way they live their lives. Riley especially would begin to go out of her way to improve the world by advocating for safer laws in the city, thus lessening the number of people winding up in accidents like Smackle did. However, Riley would get so tied up in advocacy work that she'd forget to focus on spending time with her friends and family. And perhaps also at this time, another tragedy is occurring, like one of Cory or Topanga's parents die. Plus, Maya could still be dealing with the drama related to her half-sister. But Riley is too busy with her advocacy work to help her family and Maya deal with their issues. But interestingly enough, It would be Lucas, Farkle, and Zay that would pull Riley back into remembering to spend more time focused on her friends and family. Despite their being proud of some of the work Riley is doing, they tell Riley that, in retrospect, they now realize that what drew them into a friendship with her and Maya was how much the two cared for each other. And, interestingly enough, Lucas would wind up being the more vocal person in this entire scenario, related to getting Riley to not forget about the importance of friends and family. Why? Well, we'd finally get Lucas admitting to everyone some hard truth about his past that he'd been keeping a secret for so long. Lucas would tell everyone that when he was younger back in Texas, his parents got so involved in their own work so much that they stopped spending time with each other and him. The time they spent away from Lucas, not taking care of him, caused Lucas to start falling in and joining with the wrong crowds, getting involved in gangs, and doing a few small illegal things. Now, Lucas's mother did eventually get her act together and began to spend more time with her son and helped him change his lifestyle for the better. However, plenty of damage had already been done. Lucas's parents were now divorced, and in an attempt to help Lucas start his life over for the better, Lucas's mom had herself and Lucas move to New York. And after hearing this story, Riley realizes that despite all of her best efforts to protect others in the world, she almost forgot to protect what mattered most to her personally, her relationship with her family and her friends. And after learning this lesson, Riley's bond with her parents, brother, and Lucas grows for the better. Now, as for all the other character relationships, all the characters that were indeed couples stay together for the rest of the season. And as for other simple stuff going on, Corey still continues to be the voice of reason to his students, Topanga never stops supporting her community, Zay continues to have even more funny one-liners, Sean and Jack reunite in a story where they become closer again, which parallels the journey Maya and her sister go through, and Uncle Eric shows up a few times in a silly subplot where he tries to actually run for President of the United States.
Now, many people have asked me, Eric, why'd you wait so long to run? The answer's simple. I didn't know there was an election happening. I'm Eric Matthews, and I approve this message, even without your help, Feeney.
But as for what happens next, well, let's just also do Girl Meets World, the later seasons, what might have been. Had the show continued for another few seasons, or maybe just had a TV movie that wrapped up the storylines, we'd see the teenage characters finally enter adulthood and experience more mature storylines. Upon high school graduation, Riley and Lucas, along with Farkle and Smackle, would be closer than ever. So both couples contemplate getting very physically close with their respective partners. However, the couples realize that consummating their love is not a right they have, but something that must be properly earned. They realize that if they are to start families of their own one day, it should be preceded by more than just a night of passion. It should be preceded by further growing in their respective relationships, having many discussions about commitment and what it looks like, and discussing what a family as a whole is supposed to look like before they start creating one. These discussions would cause Farkle and Smackle to grow closer emotionally together. However, it would cause Riley and Lucas to realize they're still uncertain of what a family where they are the parents would look like. Meanwhile, Maya would have her own relationship issues with Josh. Despite both saying they were in it for the long game, Josh would find another woman closer to his age to be with. And in the final story of the show, Maya finally gives up her dream of ending up with Josh. And sadly, at the same time, Riley and Lucas also break up. It's not out of anger and hatred, though. Riley and Lucas, through their many discussions of what family and parenting look like, simply realize they don't want to one day be parents together, or start a family together, or even be romantically together. They still want to be good friends, but they break up as a couple. Now, this would obviously come as a sad shock to many people. Many individuals out there wanted Riley and Lucas, or Maya and Josh, to be the next Corey and Topanga. However, what makes Corey and Topanga work is, there is only one Corey and Topanga. Marrying your childhood sweetheart is a very rare thing that almost never happens in reality. So the only way the boy/girl meets world reality can still be viewed as believable is if Corey and Topanga are the only childhood sweethearts that get married in their world, and nobody else. However, on a side note, Farkle and Smackle never get married, but they do stay very close all the way to the series end. And Augie and Ava, well, they actually might end up being together forever. But as for the show's two main leads, Riley and Maya, The series' end would focus on them accepting that even if they never wind up married to any man one day or have families of their own, they will live perfectly content knowing that they have their friendship with each other. And then, in the final scene of the show, after Riley and Maya have flashbacks to how much they've changed over the years, we see a recreated version of the scene from Girl Meets Bay Window that featured grown-up Riley and Maya. Only, this will be an expanded and alternate version of the scene that replaces the original grown-up actors with Rowan Blanchard and Sabrina Carpenter, who are now grown-up themselves. It's a scene where Riley tells Maya that she'll always be by her side, but when Maya says she's going to move to another part of the city, Riley affirms that she'll move in with Maya as her roommate. And then, through digital editing, we see adult Riley and Maya look back at their younger selves via Girl Meets Bay Window footage. And so, as adult Riley and Maya leave to take on the world together, they call upon their past to come with them, because they never want to forget how far they've come. But instead of teenage Riley looking back in the room for the final shot, this time we get a final shot of adult Riley and Maya looking back into the room one more time, waving goodbye to their memories and the audience. And that's what might have been. Now, even though the show in reality has been completely cancelled, cancellation does not lessen the importance of what the show was to people. Every life lesson and every smart tale that changed viewers for the better, that impact doesn't go away. And maybe one day the show will be allowed to continue somehow. Perhaps one day another TV executive will realize Girl Meets World impacted people in a way like very few other shows have. And they'll continue it. Perhaps a tale of Riley and friends grown up. Perhaps a story about Riley and Maya's potential future children they have one day. Who knows? Whether it's another show, movie, or even just a book, anything is possible. Things that create lasting impacts don't get forgotten. So if you love this show, keep rewatching it. Share it with others. Talk about the stories and their important lessons. Continue to show people how relevant it is. That is what will get the story of Girl Meets World officially continued somewhere, some way, one day.